welcome everybody to BlockSafe Decoded, the the new series that we're putting out to help inform those of you out there about best practices when you're entering the space, especially geared towards early stage founders. This is a time in the industry when we are all anticipating a lot of movement, and with that movement comes new ideas. Now, for a lot of you, you may have great ideas and not know how to necessarily apply them to your new business venture. And that's what we're here to do. My guest today is Mona Tiesler. She is with Tokentus AG. Thank you, Mona, for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much.
Oh, it's awesome to have you here. So, Mona, when I was in this about a year last cycle, and I joined a project and I helped them with some ideas, and we put together a pitch deck. And a friend of mine got me on, first call ever, first pitch I ever did, with the really big family office in Hong Kong. And I spent about a half hour going through 20 slides and explaining our entire game to them. And they said that was very thorough. Now, clearly, I thought I did a really great job, but that is not quite the way to go present to a VC. So we want to talk to you today about the steps that we need to take, in preparing to go for the ask. But first, I would like to hear, let's inform everyone a little bit about you. How did you get into the VC business? I think we're all interested there.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll give you a little bit of an overview and happy to answer that question. So I work for a firm, as you mentioned, called Tokentus Investments. We're a Germany-based venture capital fund, but investing globally in the Web3 space. We invest pre-seed to Series A, and I think that's probably the most important aspects about the fund. My journey into this fund was, well, initially I did a very, more traditional route. I did 4 years of strategy consulting. Then I actually did 2 startups, actually 3 to be totally transparent. So I launched my own, and then I did growth type work for 1 larger scale up and 1 really young startup, and did an MBA. And after the MBA, I was like, look, how can I combine my consulting experience with the entrepreneurial and growth / venture building experience, and just landed on venture capital being a really phenomenal job to do that really bridges all the experiences I've made so far. And it was not an easy journey, to be honest. But eventually I really combined also my really innate love for the Web3 space and belief in the future being Web3 based. And due to the connections and knowledge I had in that space, was able to kind of come in as an expert into the venture capital scene as well. So now I'm really grateful because I'm combining the 2 things that I'm really passionate about, which is investing in Web3.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. I know that here at BlockSafe, we have those same ideals. It's not just about the company. It's not just about building. It's about, we deeply care about the space as well. And we want to nurture and grow it and provide the best possible solutions for people. So I think that's really impressive. When did you get into Web3 and blockchain? Was it a progression, or was it something that you kind of, as you were doing these other things, you were into this in parallel?
So it was more of a parallel situation. My first contact actually with Bitcoin was in 2013. I was at university at that point, and I read an article, and it was, I don't know which online media published it, but the title was Banking the Unbanked. And that really resonated with me. I thought, we need this. And I read this article, and it was about Bitcoin. And thereafter, I organized a conference at the university in the UK I was at, and it was about digital assets. And we had some investors come down from London who were already bullish on the space. But the reaction of the university as well as of the students was, I would say, rather mediocre. Even myself, who was a psychology and management major, a little bit taken aback because of the complexity of even buying a Bitcoin at that time, and maybe the connotation as well of, is this all fully legal and tax compliant, etc. And so I shied away. I wasn't brave enough. I went into the traditional consulting realm to make sure that everybody else is happy. But the idea, the underlying value of banking the unbanked kind of stayed with me. And during my MBA, when I had the ability to kind of go back to school years later and rethink, what do you actually want to do with your career and what do you want to build and be a part of, I came back to this ethos, to this idea, and then really directed my my applications and my focus to be within Web3.
Amazing. That's an awesome story. I too learned about Bitcoin way early on, but I was not smart enough to invest nor mine it on a CPU when I could, although I should have.
Me
But
neither.
yeah. Hey, that's those are the breaks, right? And then COVID happened, and I got laid off from my job, and I got to jump into smart contracts, and I went, "Whoa, this is really cool! Like we can
Yeah,
do so much amazing stuff with this," and never really came up for air since.
that's
What
awesome.
is, yeah, what is, and I think that this is, a big question that everyone should ask when they're getting ready to approach a VC of any kind. What is the investment strategy for Tokentus?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I mean, for Tokentus, I would say there is a equity first still strategy. So we do like the kind of equity with token warrant structure that has, specifically during the bear market or like the recent times, been more popular. Going back to this a little bit, you can arguably say safer investment aspect, traditional investment of having some equity of a company versus tokens. Whereas now, when we see the market is coming back, investor interest is coming back, there's a little bit more liquidity and excitement. Also, of course, around the narrative of ETFs launching, etc. Having coming Denkun upgrade, you name it. We see that many VCs in the space are continuously and more than ever looking for pure token investments as well. But for Tokentus, it is still, we still do like some equity. We do also like token investments. So hybrid is a great structure. And in terms of thesis, I mean, we like infrastructure, we like real world applications, real world use cases that utilize blockchain technology. And we like things that really bring value and are VC investable, right? Because I believe a lot of amazing, truly phenomenal builders I speak to in the space, they're building something that might not necessarily be a VC investable product. And that doesn't mean that their product isn't good or that it's not valuable, right? But I think, of course, we are looking for a return on investment for our investors. So it needs to be something where we can see and we believe in the growth and the traction of that product in the future.
Definitely. Well, I know that I'm excited to, you attend a lot of conferences and speak at a lot of conferences, so you definitely get the first viewing of a lot of new products. But I can say that I'm super excited for ETH Denver to come up, because if there's one place to see or get the temperature or the feel of what's about to come in this next cycle, like last year, it seemed to be all about DID, wallet abstraction, ZK, and privacy stuff. And we're seeing that deeply in play now. What do you think this year's conference, or what do you think some of the new focus, tooling, or applications might be?
So I think we're still looking at some of the, I guess, narratives that we've heard last year as well. But I feel like the narratives that we've heard last year, they're launching into actual products and into fruition, so to speak, only this year. Therefore, I think they'll be picked up again or continuously. which include things like account abstraction, which for example, would also be the blob space / block space, right? How do we, all of this scalability solutions, I think, are still important to be discussed. I think layer 3s fall into that category as well. I think things like token bound accounts are more and more interesting, coming up more and more in this identity space as well. Validity proofs, and of course, big topic talked about, staking and restaking, is something, I guess, if we look at EigenLayer and all the projects that are involved in that ecosystem and the airdrop hunting that's going on as well in that space, is probably going to be a really hot topic. Data availability layers, right? We know those, also hot topic. Celestia, obviously being part of this as well in this whole narrative of what's exciting at the moment. And then another one would be the parallelized EVMs, for example, including the Solana VM Eclipse or Monad, maybe from the Ethereum side. I think those are also topics that are going to be hot in Denver. Sure, I forgot some, maybe some more.
There's a lot, though. I don't know how you keep up. It is every year it gets harder and harder to keep up with everything, which is a good problem to have, right?
Yeah.
That means that the industry is advancing and that we're coming up with new creative ways to solve problems. But wow, the landscape is so much broader, so much different than it was a year, 2 years ago. It's really, really impressive. And why we're still tackling the regulation and taxation and all that kind of stuff on one end, you see this tremendous, amazing growth coming out from infrastructure and type plays, which is really, really nice to see. Okay.
What do you think? What's your thoughts? What do you think are the big themes? Did I forget anything? I know
you covered a really, really, really good list. I mean, I honestly couldn't think of anything else. My focus generally in the space is, and this, I love entertainment on the blockchain. And while that's more of like an end user type of thing, I still strongly feel that it is the best vehicle to get people into this space. While I deeply care about the actual technology behind it and the ethos and what things can do, I think that there's still a lot of problems to solve about how we get people to come into this space and be able to navigate it easily, because it's confusing for me. And I've been here for 5-6 years now, right? Juggling between L1s and L2s and where to put this and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes it gets too scary to even stick my own toes in to test the waters. So I think that there's still a lot of problems to solve that. So like, especially, things with abstraction and just onboarding in general, I think entertainment's the best way to do it. And it can use all of these. That's why I'm excited to go to ETH Denver myself, because I want to see how I can use some of this tooling that's going to come out in my own personal thesis and as we build things with BlockSafe and for people to be able to advance their own projects and really make it simple. Because one of the things that we also want to push is, helping traditional Web 2 companies enter Web 3. So it's just whatever we can do to simplify that process as a service provider is important to me. So it's going to be really interesting to sit through some talks and go hit the humongously, insanely huge expo floor. Last year I had to hit the beanbag zone because it was too wild. Just a second, someone's knocking at my door. Hold on. Sorry, that was my kid. Yeah, so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting, and then I plan on hitting GDC in later, so I'll get to actually see if some of that side from. We'll see how much Web3 is there this year.
Interesting.
I'm pretty interested. I mean, last year there was a huge presence, especially with the side events. There was a good amount of games on the floor too. I hope to see some more people more third-party vendors who are willing to incorporate Web3 into their existing services that they usually use for gaming and entertainment. So being more open and willing to integrate, that's what I hope to see there as well. Yeah, this year's going to be really exciting. No matter what your focus is, I think that there's just so much going on. It's going to be so cool. So one of the reasons I wanted to ask you on, and I need to share my screen really fast, is because you wrote a really awesome article about building an investable product in Web3. And I thought this was really great because too often people don't know what to do. The beauty of Web3 is that it's a place where anybody that has a great idea has a chance to build a business. It can be very heavy on the technical side, like some of the things that you're talking about, or it can be more on the consumer end user side, like using entertainment as that. But and too often, people miss out on the chance to bring those ideas to fruition because they may not have a great handle on maybe business in general, or just specifically Web3 business and being able to go for the ask. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your article and talk about what are the steps. Explain, what are the most important things you look for? I mean, I suppose it's a lot of this. When being approached, or what's the best way to approach if you're a first-time founder? Where do you go first? I mean, clearly you need to get ready for an angel investment, but what are the most important aspects to at least be able to sell your vision to somebody before you go on to like VC?
Yeah, for sure. And maybe just to also reiterate, I think, yes, speaking a lot about the technical aspects, but also in the same realm, I think even though we're still fixing / improving some of the infrastructural aspects in the Web3 space, I also really believe that we are slowly moving towards those consumer-facing applications and products, and that we are going to start seeing more and more products that are targeting a larger audience than just the Web3 native users that are kind of in the micro ecosystem already, plus new ones that might enter, but really more of this mass adoption focus. And that's also what inspired this article, was to say, look, if you're trying to if you're a Web2 builder and you're thinking, okay, how can I, build a Web3 project because I believe this is what we're going to evolve into? Or if you're a Web3 builder and you're saying, look, I want to actually build something that is maybe a product that has wider reach than my current user base. And that's why I wrote this article. And to answer your question, I mean, yes, on screen, I think these are some of the main points that I think are very, very valuable. And before you talk to a VC or even an angel, even for yourself, I think these are things that you need to be aware of and have researched, because you want to have the confidence that no matter who asks you, a VC, an angel, even a partner that might want to partner with you on your journey, you need to be knowledgeable. And this is everything from really understanding the market, right? Even if you're looking for, okay, what can I build? What does the market need? You need to think about, is there a product that the market really needs to create this product market fit? How big is that market size? How much market share can I actually capture? And maybe even think of scenarios. Worst case scenario, like, realistic scenario without kidding yourself, and a really bullish scenario. And getting those figures, numbers, thoughts, plans in your head correct. If that's not your strong suit, then work with somebody, partner with somebody. I'm sure there's somebody in your network that might have more of that business mindset, or really Google it, use templates from accelerators that are free, whatever it may be. Ask advisors, bring great people on, work with companies like BlockSafe or others. I think that's important, but have that understanding. As well as really understanding the competitive landscape follows in quite nicely on that, right? Who else is doing this? And one thing I like to highlight here, and I highlighted that in the blog as well, is oftentimes I see founders, no matter where they are in their journey, right? Idea, pre-product, products, MVP, actually revenue generating, or really in growth stage. When I ask them about who are your competitors, or even when I look at the slides they present me showing a matrix or some sort of grid, they often only think direct competitors, right? And I gave this example in the blog, and I think maybe for a Web2 audience, it's a good example and everybody understands it. It's like, if my problem is a customer wants to get to a meeting, right? Then the answer that people come up with, ride hailing app. And then the competitive scope that they show me is Uber, Bolt, Lyft, taxi, normal, right? And then I'm like, yes, correct. However, what about Zoom or Teams or any other video calling platform? What about phone call? What about the metro, a bicycle, a scooter, right? There's so many more competitive aspects that you sometimes, right, need to at least have looked into and have then decided, okay, they're not relevant. But it's important to have that knowledge, because now we're seeing so many products being built that are all solving the same problem, but everybody's kind of saying, yeah, but I don't have any competitors. And that's not true. You do, right? Yeah. And so I think it's important to have an understanding. And I won't go into all of the other points, but in very short, for completeness, team is obviously always extremely important. A broad set of skills that actually are complementary and people you can work with for years.
Yeah, key right? element.
Key element that people also tend to forget. It's not just great to have a phenomenally clever person with you, but do you want to be married to this person in a business perspective? That's important. Business model, how do you make money? Is your tech actually feasible? Is it scalable? Do you have traction? How can you get traction? How do you build community? If you don't like doing this, who can help you with doing this? What's on your roadmap? Is it realistic? And have you thought about regulation, right? All of these points are really, really important, and keeping on top of them is hard work. Therefore, a good team is also super valuable.
100%. I think that monetization and path to profitability are one of the key areas that people largely don't do enough research or projections on. They just assume that, yeah, we're going to make money, we'll be able to mint out, or we'll do whatever. I think that's one common mistake. And then I also think that, and this is the toughest part too. Well, I mean, certainly when you're going for angel, you may not quite need to get so heavy into regulatory, but certainly by the time you get to VC, everyone thinks they know the answer, that their product's going to be utility or whatever. They know whether they're going to launch a token. And the fact of the matter is that, 9 times out of 10, a lot of early stage founders don't have a great handle on what is actually relevant and not, to keep themselves safe. Yes. Can you launch a token? 100%. Go for it. Should you launch a token? That's the real question that you need to ask, right? Yeah. So, and you need to have all that stuff nailed down. That's the, no one's going to want to invest in you if you've not got a really great idea, at least when you're trying to go for the big money, on what your regulatory looks like. So, of course, BlockSafe, as a quick pitch, we have in-house legal to help you with that. So we're happy to help people with those kind of issues. Just scrolling through. I mean, look, I'm going to link the article in the rest of the post here. I really encourage everyone to check it out. I don't want to go through the whole thing. That'll take quite some time. It's a great article. In fact, your entire medium is awesome. And I love that you write articles. You write great articles because they speak to people that are on any level of their journey through the process, right? And that's the important part. And those are the type of people that you want to be out there communicating with. Let's see. What else can we talk about? I don't know. I think we covered everything. What's Are we going to have another? What do you think the future of NFTs are going to be? Are we gonna have a lot of these like community led NFT projects and do all the collaborations and are we going to see an evolution of what we can use NFTs for this year?
So I think the answer is both. I think, however, at least in my opinion, a lot of the real opportunity is in what you can use the technological aspect of a non-fungible token for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is so many real world use cases. You know, a lot of this example, maybe it's a bit old, but notaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know we use this a lot, but if you think about NFTs are actually really great, complementary, maybe even replacement style technological advancements for very expensive processes like using
Mm-hmm.
notaries to certify or verify certain events or ownership transfers or buying of houses or whatever it may
Yes.
be. And so NFTs have so much utility beyond community membership PFPs
Right.
or nice digital art, which I do think is coming back. And when we see great projects that are building superb communities through NFT collections, and I love that. But I think that's only one aspect, and we shouldn't categorize NFTs just as that,
Mm-hmm.
because actually also dynamic NFTs, right?
Mm-hmm.
NFTs that can change over
Mm-hmm.
time are so powerful. And I do think that we're going to see this more and more often in very, very, very different use cases across the blockchain verticals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that especially with legal notary, it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of bureaucratic processes that are so ingrained that have to be untangled,
Mhm.
but there are some great examples of maybe not countrywide, but at least on the city level in certain places where they're actually creating, ordinances that like NFT type contracts are
Yeah,
enforceable, right? That's what we really want to see. And it's
yeah,
going to take a lot of lobbying and a lot of getting out there
yes,
in front of the regular non-native people to kind of
yes.
change that narrative of this is what this can do. It doesn't have anything to do with money, right,
Mm,
or making money or earning money. It is just a piece of technology that will allow you to execute something that you already are doing better. I have a friend who's working really hard to build NFTs that help you with your medical records.
oh, wow.
So you would be able to own your data. I don't want to give away too much of a secret sauce, but it's all about data ownership. It's about owning your medical records because those are
Mhm.
your records, right? So if you have a
Yeah,
soul-bound NFT with your medical records, this is another great use of the technology. And now I
yeah,
have control of where my records go and what I do with it. Of course, there's always stuff like in the US, it's HIPAA and privacy laws and things like that we have to get around. And again, negotiate with the I guess it's kind of like the oligarchs of the medical
yes.
industry or whatever. So there's always those hurdles, right? But I definitely think that we're making the right strides in general, and that there are key people. I know even when I was at Philippines Blockchain Week, it was so awesome to see because in the Philippines, the blockchain community works closely with the Philippines SEC. I mean, like,
Hmm.
very, very well. There was a senator who came on and gave a speech who was very impassioned about the use of blockchain technology, and I was just it was amazing to see, and I was like, "Wow, I wish wish we had some
Yeah.
people like that." And so it's crazy times, but the technology advances. We keep building, and hopefully we keep building great stuff that is investable and viable and pushes the space forward.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I think these are really, really, valuable examples and comments. And I'm super excited. I think this year and next year are going to be still a little roller coasters. I don't think it's
Hmm.
all just up, but I do think that we're going to see incredible innovation and a lot of new use cases and a lot more acceptance and interest in what the technology can do for underlying processes versus just a speculative asset that many people are scared of.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I think that we've covered just about everything. Mona, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
make sure follow Mona's Medium articles. She's awesome. She writes great stuff. And yeah, so thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.